this is the digital hub which I'm talking about, and currently it's the way that holds all of the guidance about all of the websites and the portal. I will refer to the portal in this, but fundamentally this is about the CMS. So we have the CMS guides here, and this is all about EPiServer. So we have the introduction to EPiServer, blocks and contents, creating a new page, and all of the other things, the size, the image reference guides. I'm going to run sessions on those further going forward, and you've got all the instructions about them on here. But you know, as we go along, there are levels of complexity involved in running a website. So, and that is fundamentally what you're all doing when you're working with your websites. You are running your website. So we do kind of expect a certain level of understanding of websites and website technology beforehand. We can teach you, you know, or can kind of give you guidance if you've never used one before. But you know, just in terms of the support that we can offer, that's not always, you know, practical for us to do that. So, and also in the CMS guides, and my website decides to update, we have a series of videos. So we've got the guides here and we've got some video guides, and these are quite handy for you. Just it kind of gives you a little snapshot of, you know, this is the EPiServer interface, which I'm going to go through now. It'll be like creating a new page, creating a new block, dragging and dropping blocks, and all how these things work. And these are just little videos. And when I say little, I mean they're a minute and a half, just to kind of show you quickly how to do it. And each one is a snapshot. We've also tied them into the individual guide, so you can have the appropriate video with the appropriate piece of guidance. I'm not going to go through all these now. This is just a kind of introduction to the EPiServer. So as I say, this is the digital hub, and all of the information is on here. So now we're going to look at an introduction to your website. So you will all know of your partner websites. You're all different. You all have the same look and feel. This is just an example of how the sites work. Some of you will have buy products, some of you won't, because you weren't Trading Alliance members. If you do still have a buy products tab, you shouldn't be doing anything with it, and we will kind of, we're working our way through the list, but do drop me an email if you want to get rid of it. The standard top navigation for the brand compliance is our services, activities and events, get involved, about us. If you have room hires, if you have rooms to hire, you can have a room hire tab because it doesn't really fit underneath any of the others. And if you have shops, you can also have a shops tab. It used to be if you only had one shop, you didn't have a tab, but now if you have a shop and you want a shops tab, we can create you one. These services, activities and events and shops will tie into the brand partner portal. I'm not going to cover that later, but these are the, you know, these services won't necessarily be run by the EPiServer anymore, but that's the basis of what the websites are all about. So when you're navigating through, you've got certain things on the site. So you've got a donate button. This is a new feature, which is a contact us button. So you can link it to a contact us page, which is at the top. And you can create other pages underneath here. You won't be able, even if you want more, you won't be able to create in the EPiServer any more top navigations, but you'll be able to create anything underneath here. And basically any of the content on the pages is yours to kind of, you know, run as you see fit. So that's a kind of quick introduction about the partner websites. There are more questions I can take about that, but I'm just going to give you an introduction to EPiServer now. So EPiServer is the content management system that runs your website. So first of all, you would need to have a password and a login. And if you don't have one, please email partner.content to get one. Ideally, you should have one per person who works on your website within your organization. That doesn't mean everybody in your organization should have one, but you know, ideally you shouldn't be sharing a login because you won't be able to track who has made changes. There are two levels of logins in the CMS. There's an author and an editor. An editor can basically publish pages, create pages, and publish them and unpublish content on the website. An author can create content, but when they go to publish it, it goes into a kind of an authorization list, and then the editor will be the person that then signs it off. So if you want to have those two levels within your organization, because you want to devolve some publishing to other people in your organization who you want to check before it goes live, you know, we can set up those two levels of admin access. Once you have a login and a password, then you'll be given a link and you will go to your interface to log on, and this is what it will look like. So you'll put your password in here. I'm just using this one for the time being, which is a test one. And then you put in your password, and then there's this piece of text here, which is quite important that you tick. So basically, it just means that in terms of third-party software, anything that you put on the site, you're liable for, because anything on your site could, affect other sites, because all of the sites sit together underneath the Age UK national site. You're all in a folder structure underneath. Some of you might have had questions about cookies, and that's one of the reasons, and I'll come to that as we go along in the training as we go forward. So at the moment, you shouldn't really be embedding anything on your site while we sort out the cookie panel issues, because no one, if you put in, for example, a piece of social media, that might be using cookies, but there's no way for users to opt out of using these cookies. And that's why we, at the moment, so you shouldn't be embedding in anything on your site. Just ticking this, if you try to log in without it, it won't allow you to. You just have to kind of say that that you understand that that's the purpose of this, about embedding third-party software. But that's that. So then you can log in, and depending on how you opened your system before, this is what you might see. But you might just kind of start, for example, this might be the view. When you land like that, and you might go, well, where's my site? So there's basically simple ways to get into your site. At the top of your site, you've got this orange bar, and you've got this little black square with an arrow in it. Click it once and click it again. This kind of opens up the top of your website. So you'll see your login. If you decide you want to change your password because the one that we've allocated you don't like, you can do, but please remember what it is, because then if you forget it, we will have to reset your password again. Then you've got dashboard, which isn't really relevant for you because it doesn't really do anything. But then you've got the CMS, which is where you'll want to be clicking in order to do it. And then you've got edit and reports. For the purposes of today, you just want to be on edit, because that will give you the access to view your website. And then you've got this tree at the side, we call it. So you click on the tree, and you've got these two icons at the top, which is a cog and a pin. So we would always suggest that you pin it. So this image here is basically showing you what I've just done to get into the system, and that will be there generally when you log in to remind you. But for the purposes of your website, home isn't your home page. This is it. This is what home is. Your home page is like, you'll see your name at the top. So if you're Wiltshire, if you're Camden, if you're Leeds, that's what you'll see here, and that will be your home page. And so when you click on that, you'll then see your home page. Now, this is to give you a preview of how your websites will look. Ideally, when you're doing editing, you'll want to have your live site open and the CMS open, so that any changes you make on the CMS, you can then publish them, and then you can go and give the live site a refresh, and you'll see it demonstrated. I'm using Anytown, but for the purposes of this, I'll just show you. You'll be able to see the live site. So any changes that I make here, then I can adjust it accordingly on the page. So this is the basics of kind of getting in and looking at the interface of your website. Now there kind of comes the understanding of how your website works. So if you're looking at the left-hand side, each of these pages represents a page on your website. For example, Test PP is your home page, which would be Test PP. If you're looking at our services test, which is what it looks like there, when you go on the website, that's our services test, and you can just click between the two. This is portal data, so don't worry too much about that at the moment. For example, I'll get involved. If you wanted to edit your get involved page, the way to find out is you go to get involved and you look at the URL and go, right, test BP, get involved. Then you go into your website and you go test BP, get involved, and that would be the page that you would use to edit and to make changes, and any sub pages underneath that would be listed here, the same as any sub pages would then appear here underneath. So that's, if you kind of say, where is that page, and we'll click on donate, we'll see the kind of pathway: test, get involved, donate, and you'll see the same thing: get involved, test, get involved, donate. And that's how to figure out which page to change. So if someone comes to you in your organization and says so and so is wrong on this page, that's how to find out where that page is. Now, the way that pages work is that your pages are one thing and your content on that page is something else entirely different. So you kind of think about it like pictures on a wall with post-its. So if you've got a picture, the picture is the page, which is the donate page. but any of these items on that page are pieces of content. And the best way to kind of explain that is here. So this is an EPiServer page for example, about us. There's different page types that you can create. I'm not going to go into that in this session, but they're different ones and they kind of look and feel different. You will only be able to create like index pages, contents pages, and news pages. And then you would drag on blocks onto here. So you'd create a text block, which would basically be, if you wanted to have some text on the page, you just create a text block and fill it out with text, and then you publish it. And then you also publish the live page. If you want to have an image on your page, you have to get the image into the system, but then you create an image block, pull the image into that block, and publish it, and it will display on the page. The same as basically featured post images as well, which is like kind of 3 blocks across your page. So for example, these are featured post blocks. This is a 2 featured post block. This is a 4 featured post block. This is a text block, and this is the name of the page. So this is how they're created on that page. If you make a change into this, once you've got it on the page and you make a change to the text block, because it's already on the page, you only have to republish the block. But if you add a new block on, then the page will flash at you and say, well, you've added a new block to me, you now need to publish me. So it's just remembering that it's not just a one publish thing. When you make a bit of content change, you might have to publish it twice, once on the block and once on the page. So that's the basics of it, creating a block on a page. Now, when you go to create a block on a page, for example, here, you can do it in this order. So if I click on, for example, here, it will show me all the blocks that are on this page, but that doesn't really, this is the preview of the blocks, but this is where all the blocks on that page are listed. But you can go here to the top right hand corner and you can see on page editing, where I could click on this and I could do edit if I wanted to. But if I wanted to see how all the pages are structured, I click on this 3 lines and this will kind of show me the back of the pages. And this is where the EPiServer is quite helpful, but if you're not familiar with this view, you might need to familiarize with it. It kind of shows you all the different types of blocks that are on there, but it also gives you different things that you can do with the page. So across the middle, you've got these tabs. So this is the content that's there. The settings is when the page was published or created or modified, and you can make shortcuts. I did that the other day in the portal session. I'm not going to go into it here, but just for the basics, it just kind of shows you when that page was published and when that page was created. Social media is more so that when you want to share the page on social media, if you want to have a specific image, you can control that here. And search engines is also the same thing. So you can exclude the page from coming up in your search. So this search here, you can say don't bring this page up in search, because for some reason it might be a PDF or it might be an image and you don't want all those images to list. But you can also tell Google or other search engines not to follow that page, because it might be irrelevant, it might be something that you don't want people to find, or it might just be, it might be a page that you want to expire and you want it to disappear from Google first, so you need to stop it being followed by Google and indexed by search engines. So that's the tabs about how to make a page and the details on what's there. So that's the page, and this is the blocks on the page, and you can create individual blocks or individual blocks on that page. And when you go to create it, for example, as I was saying here, I will create a new block and it will list the types of block that I can create, but it won't show me, there's more block types than this, and there's like an index hero, an iframe, all these blocks. But if those blocks aren't suitable for this type of page, it won't show them here, and it won't allow me to create them. It will only show me what I can create on this page. So for example, a 3 featured post block or a 4 featured post block, but there are some that you can't use on that page. But there's also another type of block you can create, which is a global block, and that's a bit more flexible. So these are just, which for most of you is just standard. You'll just create a block on a page. You'll never even need to, use it elsewhere. But it might be that you want a bit of text on this page to also appear on another page. And when you update that block, you want it to update in 2 places at once. And that's why we have this thing called global blocks, which you probably don't really need to use that much, but it's just to be aware of them. So you can create a global block in your right-hand side here, in your TestB, for example, or your whatever your Age UK folder is. You can create a block underneath here, and then you can drag that onto as many pages as you like. And if you then update any instance of this block, wherever it is on this page or that page or another page, it will change all of them. So for example, a way to think about this is if you had lots of services during COVID that were affected by closures, you could drag on the one, you could create a global block, drag it onto every instance of that page. And if you said, well, we're not running this service today, or we're closed today, you can update that block and it will update on every other page. That's just one of the instances of using that block. It just kind of appears on multiple pages. And it also means that you can also reuse that content. So if you think that this page might, you're creating some text on a page and it's something that you might want to use somewhere else, again, that's when you want to create it as a global block. And that's the contents about blocks. Now, so before I go into site settings, I'm just going to have a check and see if there's any questions, or if any of you got any questions on anything there. So Jane, the answer is yes, it is being recorded. I don't know if you're still in the meeting, but yes, it will be. Has anybody else got any questions just about that before we go along to the next part? Feel free to put them into the chat or put your hand up. If you do have, just pop them in there and I can address them at the end. So I'll continue on to the next part. So if we now go to EPiServer, the thing that I'm going to kind of focus on now is your site settings, because this is one of the kind of important parts of the site. It's a page in your left-hand side of the navigation here, site settings, and it does control a lot of the things on the site. But although you publish it, it's not a page that you can go to. You wouldn't be able to go here and put site settings in and be able to see it, because it doesn't exist as a public page. It's just to kind of support what you want to do on your website. But you'll all have one called site settings, and it's got a series of tabs across the middle, which I'm just going to go through now. And also just to say that if you go to the CMS guides and you go to Introduction to EPiServer and download the guide, everything that I'm talking about and all the instructions are in here, so you'll be able to find them. But if we just go through each tab individually, so we've got the content tab first of all, and for the site settings, this is going to change your address. So your brand partner address you can change, and your brand partner telephone number you can change. So when you all email me to say, oh, at the bottom, this address at the bottom of the page, this is how you change it. So you do that in site settings. To get it changed on the national site and in the portal, that's a different matter. But for the purpose of your website, this is just how it would do. Your registered charity number and your company number you can't change. You just have to email me to do it. It's kind of locked behind, and your brand partner name again is locked. So if you want those things to be changed, you just need to ask me and I can change those for you. So then we come to the header tab, and now this kind of covers a lot of things. So for example, the brand partner logo, you can't change it here, but your brand partner logo is this, which you would have been given by the brand team. So it's complied. So, but that's where it links to, and that's what that pulls out. Your contact us page here, which is this new functionality, is that when you're at the top of the page and you have this little contact us tab, if I click on that, it will take you to the contact us page. Now, it could link to anywhere, and this is where you could change it. But obviously you don't want to link it to your donate page. You want to link it to your contact us page, which all of you should have. It's generally under about us, and it's called contact us. Probably looking at any town is a better idea. Under about us, contact us. You'll have a contact us page with your map or your contact details, possibly a sign up form. And that is the way that you would link that new button at the top so that people can contact you. Also on this page, you have a donate URL button. Now this is the donate button here. Now there's various discussions about what you can do with this button. You can link straight to a third party with this button. Or you can link to your donation page, because not all donations are necessarily going to be something that's going to be done digitally, a digital donation. So it might be that people do want to donate online, but somebody also might want to donate by check, or they might want to leave you a legacy, or they might want to give you goods for your donations to your shops. So that is a way that you can do that. I'm not specifying what you should or shouldn't do, but it just means that if you link the donate button to your donate page, it kind of covers a wider area of donations that you can receive. But if you want to link it just to a third party, you're quite welcome to do that. How you run that is entirely up to you, but you can change that within the contact us, the donate button. Then we move down to your cookie banner text. Now this is something that we put on before GDPR came in. So currently you should have a cookie panel on your site, which we are working on at the moment with in terms of Age UK to give you a cookie banner so that if you have third-party software on your site, or any other software that you've embedded that uses cookies, your users should be able to opt out of anything that's non-essential. So an essential cookie means that it means your website needs it to run, but something else might track your users or kind of record data about them, and they need to be able to opt out of this, which currently we don't have the ability to do, which we're working on. So at the moment, you shouldn't be putting anything on your site that uses cookies. But this used to be there in order just to say that by continuing to use this cookie, continuing to use the cookies by continuing to use this site, you're agreeing to cookies, but it's not compliant anymore. You can leave it there if you want to. It is up to you as an organization to decide what you want to, how you want to progress. But for the purposes of not having a cookie panel, it's probably best to keep it at the moment, but it's not complied. So don't put anything on your site at the moment which requires cookies, but you can keep it there to link to, again, your to your cookie panel. I can't get it to come up at the moment, but it will come up at the top, and you just click close, or you click a link and it will take you, for example, to your privacy policy, and then you can link to your cookies in there, your cookie guidance in there. And the same as we have this is all the part of it, cookie banner links and all the information about how to create it. All the guidance for that is in the digital hub, so you can go through there to look at it, to set it or to amend it if those are the things that you want to do. So that's the header. If we move on to the settings now, again, some of these are locked down because you won't really need to use them. So this kind of just says when this site was created in 2017, when we started to roll out the new functionality to all the partners. So then we come on to share links. Now, share links is what links you want to show on your website. So if you've got a Facebook or a Twitter or a LinkedIn or a WhatsApp, then these will appear here, and you can tick these, and when you create a page, at the bottom of that page, for example, if we look at privacy policy and we go into settings, it will say display share links, and if you click display share links, it will list on that bottom of that page the links that you've ticked here. So if you've got Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn and you want them to appear at the bottom of every page, you tick the ones that you want to appear here, and then on that specific page you just say, on this page, yes, show them. But if you didn't want them on your terms and condition page, for example, you would leave it unticked. So this will just kind of show you where those share links are. However, to get those share links, to put them in, if you go to your home page, and I'll show you here, you will have this block which is called social media. So the social media block, which is here, you only would have it on your homepage because that's the ideal place to have it. And in there, this is where you add your social media links. So if you have a Facebook page, you put your Facebook page link in here just by adding this link and putting the Facebook page and the external link at the bottom. The same as Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest or blogs, and as more social media platforms come out that are kind of relevant for you sharing content, we wouldn't put Pinterest on, not Pinterest, we wouldn't put like TikTok on there because that's not a platform to share content, whereas Twitter, Facebook, or sharing your YouTube channels are. You would add them in here, and then they would then appear accordingly. So we've got four flagged here, so that then when we go into our site settings, you will see those 4 flagged here. So it's they just link through the site. That's where you put them in. This is where they'll appear, and then you choose whether you want them to appear or not. We then got this Just Giving tab. So for some reason, historically, Just Giving a few years ago was the kind of dominant charity link. So we added this onto the site so that if you use Just Giving, basically when you're on the site, you would click the donate button, and then you would go to donate online. We don't have anything linked to it, but it would take you to Just Giving. You could do your transaction with Just Giving, and then when you finished, it would bring you back into the site. Whereas a lot of third parties, you go to the site, you do your donation, then it leaves you on that site. This Just Giving link, and it only works for Just Giving, was basically to take you away and then bring you back in again. You don't have to use Just Giving, but that was just at the time that was set up. And again, the guides for that are here, setting up donations with Just Giving. But as there are so many, it might be something we've retired because it's it's only working with one platform, and there are quite a lot of platforms out there for you to use. But that's the Just Giving link. But if you don't put anything in there, it's not enabled because you don't tick it. Then we come onto the local directory tab. So this is tied into those people that are already using the local directory. Don't delete anything in here, because this, if you are using the local directory, this is your partner ID within the portal. And this is the links you to all your data in the portal, and you'll end up with broken pages otherwise. And this is the, depending on if you have shops or event pages or services, this just links to those pages to pull that data through. So that's this area for the local directory. And then we come on to search engines. So in terms of search and search engines, again, search uses, you have a UAID in your website, and you can choose to turn this off. Again, because it's Google Analytics, it's not a cookie is fired for part of that. So it's up to you as an organization to decide what you're happy with. You have the option to turn it off for Google Analytics if you want to, or you can leave it on, but we've given you that option to do either. But currently you have a Google Analytics UAID, which you should all have access to. If you don't, get in contact with me. I have admin access to your UAIDs, and I can give you access so you can kind of look at the content on your site. You should also have a little data dashboard. And if you don't have access to that, give me a shout as well. And that will give you a month by month kind of aggregated view of your traffic. It will just show you the last month. Whereas if you go into your Google Analytics using the appropriate code, you will be able to monitor day by day, week by week, who's on your site at the moment, and kind of explore more deeply. But if you just want top level stats, that will be the little data dashboard. So this is your current ID. Now, we're also added in the option for GA4. So for those of you that are interested in digital marketing and your stats, Google supplies a free software which will give you the stats on your site, and that's called a UAID. But this is expiring next year, not us, Age UK is not doing it. This is Google as a product is expiring it in July next year. And the next one to take over is the Google Analytics GA4. Now, although I have access to a lot of these for you, just to kind of administer it to make it easier, going forward with GA4, you're going to have to set those up on your own. Now, you can set them up, but at the moment, although this field is in there, it's not actually picking up. It should be doing something in about a month, but we just added the field because we're working through the process, which is tied into the cookie panels of Google and all of the technology that the partner sites use. So if you want to start exploring about Google Analytics 4 and what you need to do, then by all means go to Google and have a look, but we'll start communicating that anyway. But then going forward, you'll put in your new GA4 when this expires. You'll still be able to find this for about 6 months with Google. They'll still give you access to look at this data. But then going forward, you'll be using the new platform, which is GA4, because that's Google's next kind of model going forward. And then the same as with Facebook Pixel Code. If you do use that for your digital marketing, you'll be able to pop that in here. These two fields don't do anything at the moment. As I say, we've just put them in there as we're looking at the data layer and working with Tag Manager in order to make them work. So that's search engines. Again, if anyone wants to, we might run a specific session on that going forward, but we don't really have much more to tell you about GA4 at the moment because we need to set it up. And then we have the final tab, which is your footer area. Now, a lot of these are locked down just because of the way the site works, because they're at the bottom of your site. So all these tabs, such as accessibility, contact us, privacy policy, terms and conditions, they were just set in the right site structure. So that's how they are. And so you just need to update those pages accordingly that are already in the footer. But a new thing was the cookie policy. So we've added in the cookie policy thing, and you can link to that. And we've also given you a complaints procedure link, but you can change the link if you want to, you can call it something else. If it's not complaints or complaints procedure, you can put that in, and that controls this bottom one. So, at the bottom, if I remove this, for example, and then publish that page, you can see here that cookies is at the bottom. And if I publish this and then go into this website, give it a refresh, you'll see that cookies disappears, and that's just that across the bottom of the page. And then the search is not, this just tells your search what search page to use linking to your search and what folder to look in. So obviously if you're in Camden, you want it to search your Camden content, not the Leeds content. So we just make sure that your content is coming up on your website, you know, for the purposes of search up here. So that's basically a walkthrough of your settings and how it interacts with the rest of your site. So I don't know if there are any questions on that. As I say, all of the guidance just for the bit that I've gone through is on the EPiServer, and you can by all means use that to kind of start you off on any questions if you have them after this to kind of, you know, look at what goes on. But just based on that, is there anything, any questions in this session? So in your privacy policy, so Kim, going on your privacy policy question, we have a list of cookies which AGK gave us. Is this still a correct version? So probably not at this point in time, but if you go into the national site, that you probably, because the national site looks over is the kind of guiding site, you all sit in folder structures underneath AGK. So that will kind of give an idea of the cookies that are used. But as we go forward with the cookie panel, then that's when we'll tie into OneTrust. For example, it's probably best for me to show you. So if we go to AGK, okay, and if we look at they've got a list of cookies here. So this table, which is somewhat going to be affecting the partners, when we roll out the cookie panel, we'll give you the functionality to be able to pull this onto your site. And you'll also have a kind of a panel that appears. So this is all stuff that the national site uses, but it will also affect you guys. So we'll be able to tie that in so you know what it is, and that your users can opt out of that wherever they come in wherever they enter the AGK network. I don't know if that answers your question. You know, that would literally be the list of them at the moment, but we can't, if people enter through your site, we can't, you know, stop those cookies from firing. So we've tried to block them from coming down to your sites. And then as we go forward, we can, we'll be able to do that with the cookie panel. So Danny, we have an Instagram, this will become an option. I mean, you can request it, but you can link to it, but I think it's more about linking that page, because Instagram is more of a mobile platform rather than a web platform. So you can put it forward and we'll look at what it does, but we generally follow what the AGK national site does. And I think if you look at their site, they don't have, I could be wrong, when they're looking at their social feeds. Oh, they do. Yeah. So yeah, so we can look at adding that in. I think they may even have one if we go back. So if we go to here and go to bear with me, my system's being slow. Yeah, so here, this is where you would create it. Yeah, you can add Instagram. So if you want to add Instagram, you add it here, and then it would appear as a link or on your other sites. So I don't know if that oh, it hasn't come through in the site settings. Okay, well, I try and add it into the site settings, and if it doesn't come through, then let me know and I can kind of pick that out. It might just be that because you can't share content via Instagram, it might be just somewhere you want to link to. Whereas with Facebook, it's sometimes about sharing this content to like Facebook as in a post, but I don't think it works the same with Instagram. But come back to me on that and then we can confirm. Does that answer that question? Okay. Anybody else? It can be with about anything that I've mentioned today, or any questions that you have. We've got quite a good group of people here, so that you've probably all got questions that you want to know. It doesn't have to be about site settings. We can open it up now to anything really. Just put your hand up if you have anything. Otherwise, yeah, EPiServer interface we've done, site settings we've done, so now we're in just the Q&A. So, okay, well, otherwise, you can let me know what you would like other, oh, nothing from, okay. You can let me know what other areas you might want to look on. So Rebecca, I'm receiving you into my post, can check when you should. Like things like embedding. So those would have gone to your CEO so Rebecca was asking a question about sharing cookies and things like that. So we have a distribution list, but obviously if you're new, then you wouldn't necessarily have known that. These kind of things have gone out to CEOs to kind of be communicated. Then they'll come out from Alex, who's the services. I forget what his title is, but he would have communicated to all the CEOs about the cookie issues, and people are coming back, and he's the one sort of like leading that. So that would have gone out, but yeah, anything about the communications you'll find either on the new loop, or you'll find it on the loop, or you'll find it in on the digital hub, which we're going to try to send out more up-to-date guidance every week, or every month, just to kind of keep you in the loop about what's going on with things. Sorry, that was a bit of a rambled answer, Rebecca. I hope that makes sense. And Sarah said, my only question about the COVID blocks we have on our site. Can you explain that a bit more for me?
Yeah, sorry. Again, it might be a bit of a rambled question.
That's
on
right.
Our website at the moment, we've still got quite a lot of COVID information that's kind of embedded across everything. And again, I'm fairly new to the role. I think we've touched on it quite early on, but is that something I'll be able to change when we do the rollout? Will I be able to add it into sort of the services so that it's not kind of all over the website? At the minute, it's kind of linked to every service, and I've amended the wording so it's not quite so sort of in your face. But I wondered if there's something that we can add that's more of not a drop down, but something you can click on if you want to know more, but we don't necessarily have to have it sort of plastered across everything.
Yes, and no. So it depends. Are you talking about, when you say rollout, are you talking rollout of the portal?
Yes.
Okay, so there's can I look at your site at the moment? Just not your portal pages. I forget which site you're from, sorry.
It's all right, Nottingham and Nottinghamshire.
I see, I ask that every time, and there we go.
Don't worry, you've got a lot of partners.
That sounds wrong, but yes, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So on your page, if you just want to guide me through, and then I can kind of comment accordingly.
Basically, if you go into the services and you click on, say, advocacy, it won't do it now, will it?
Okay.
No. Maybe in, see, I feel like it's plastered. Go into add activities. It's probably where it's most obvious, actually. So the next one along, we've got activities and events.
Oh, you mean this?
See there.
So what you can, so this is, so what you can do is, you might have put an individual, is this done with a global block?
This is prior to me starting the role. You see, I've only been since June, so this is kind of pre-me.
Okay, so I can set up a session with you to discuss this, but just in general for everybody else's benefit, what you can, this is what I was talking about, global blocks. You can create a block like this and call it
I made a note next to that.
Say again?
I made a note when you were talking about global blocks that I assumed that's what this is, and I just wondered, whether that's something.
I mean, I can have a look, right? If you're happy for me to look into your CMS in this session.
I think because when I looked at this and chatted with you, it was when I'd only just started and I felt a bit overwhelmed with the whole website thing. Whereas now I'm a lot more competent on it.
I mean, there is a lot going on it, but it's quite powerful as a CMS. So, so just remind me, it was your activities and events.
Yes. See there, the clove.
So there. So
yeah.
So I think if we edit this, see, yeah, this is a global block. So here it's, and this is for everybody else's benefit as well. If you're using a global block, if it's just on a page, you won't have this yellow bar. But if you have here, it will see, it will tell you this is a global block, and there's 17 places that it's affecting. And what that means is you just need to go where that block is. And if we do this, this isn't,
because I amended the wording, but what I didn't know how to do was remove it. And I think when we really initially had the conversation about it, you were like, don't remove it yet, because I think there'll be something coming that might solve this.
Okay.
So what I did was I worded the wording on it, so it wasn't quite so in your face, still all about COVID and shutdowns and. But to remove it or make it slightly less in your face was what I wanted to do, really.
So I think so. What you've used here is a not you've used. What has been used is a global. If you look at the block type, and this is kind of goes to everybody else. So just trying to get to the back view of it. Being very slow. There we go. So it's the highlighted content block. So which is handy. That's fine. But if you take all the content out of that. So just for example, we deleted that content. It would mean and you republished it. It would still be on every page, but it would be empty. But if you used a text block, you wouldn't see anything. But if you're using a highlighted content block, you still might see a blue.
So going forward,
box.
if you wanted to do something like that, which hopefully we know, you wouldn't use you would use just a normal text box.
Yeah. So you could use well, there's various ways you could do it. You could use a text block, create that text block, and then put it on. Create whatever text you wanted, like today we're shut, and you could put it on every page. And then what you could do is then you could just update the text in that box every time.
Yeah. So you could use it for lots of different purposes.
You could do, or like if you not that you were advertising stuff, but if you wanted to do your own internal advertising and kind of flash something up on a page to kind of say, oh, today we're running our lunch club, and any point at which people come onto the site, you want them to see that advert, then you can create a block. You can just update that block every day, but you only have to update it in one place, and it'll update on every place, like the 17 instances that you've got there.
Yeah.
The only thing that I think here is that because you've got because you've made it highlight, not you have, because it is a highlighted post block, you might see if you remove that content a blue,
just a big space.
It would be a blue block. Yeah.
So how do I get around that, Christopher? Then.
So there is a way. I'm not sure
if you.
So there is a way that you can change content blocks. You can't, I can. So you might come to me and we might be able to change this block to another block. Or you might just have to create a new text block, find all the locations that this is on, and swap it out.
Okay, that's what I thought you might say.
Or the other thing is, and I'm happy to just give you a quick look, I'm just conscious of time, but there's another thing here. So when you any block, any page, any content, you can do this thing called manage exploration and archiving. So if you wanted to, the other thing you can do, are you happy for me to do it, and then I can reinstate it? So I can go into manage exploration and archiving, and I can say now, and then save it. Now I don't have to republish any of those pages because the page is technically live, and I give it a refresh.
So will that go across all the 17
all
instances?
Those pages that it was on, it won't be on anymore.
Right. Okay.
But then if I go back in and say, because it will then tell you here, this block has expired, and then you go back into that settings, and then you remove the expiration, save it, and when I go back in again and give it a refresh, it should be there.
Okay, and then my last question. Sorry, everybody's brought to tears.
No, that's fine. And just to say, I think it'll be helpful for everybody, but just to say, there is no correct way. There's a variety of ways that you could do it, but there's no, you shouldn't be deleting pages, but beyond that, you can turn on blocks on and off within your site, because you will want to do that.
That's really handy, to know. And then, sorry, last question.
That's all right.
So regards with this COVID-19 update, I know I think on the Age UK site, you've got like a little tab at the top, I think, when I looked at it. It was a while ago.
Okay.
I just wondered how anybody else had dealt with theirs and what they'd done sort of regarding COVID, or has everybody taken everything off to do with COVID?
I don't know what you mean about the tab. Do you mean like something here?
Yeah, there was something I thought at the top that had a little a little block, but I can't
We
see
might
it
have
now.
put COVID up here as guidance.
Yes, I think
But
that's
I
what it
don't
was
think
actually.
we did it on the local site. So it might be that
Right.
when you go to so for example, you're and I don't want to again, so you're on not the old system, but you're using, you might be building pages in the portal, but you're fundamentally using the
we've not migrated yet.
You've not migrated yet. So but when you do, if I for example look at
can I create it in there?
Possibly, yeah.
Oh, okay. I've got my one-to-one with Raf tomorrow actually, to kind of go through everything that I've done so far and to make sure that everything's right and where we are.
So what you could do is, because the way that the service is going to change, just as a comparison to your site. So this is your site. When you go to your services page, you've got all this content.
We'll have that nice landing.
When you have this, you'll have a landing page and everything will be broken down into portals. What you can do is, because this is still a CMS page, this is just portal data. You can add blocks in here. So if you wanted to add a block at the top that just said you might want to contact us to check on the services, you can do that.
Yeah,
that's one way of doing it. You could also create another, I wouldn't create a service page, but you can create a CMS page that just kind of talks about your COVID updates. And then at the bottom of here, so if we go into one of these, you're allowed these links. You've got 4 at the moment, but you're going to have 10 soon. What you could have at the bottom is like more information, and you might want to put in, you could have COVID at the bottom if it was relevant. And then you could have a link to your COVID section on the website.
That's brilliant. Thanks. That's really helpful.
It's really, there's no right or wrong. There's the way that the system works, and you can work around
how you kind of want it to look. And okay, brilliant. Thank you for that.
Is that okay? I mean, we've got a session with Raf. If you want to pick this up with me again afterwards, then just, by all means, just drop me a line.
Well, I might have a chat then with my manager and just work out how we want it to look, and then brilliant. And if I need to sort of catch up how to do it, then that's really good. It's just given me some things to think about as well now, how we can do it.
Okay. Cool.
Thanks very much.
So, Kim, no, I saw a hand go up and then go down again.
Hi, it's actually Sarah, not Kim. I wanted to know to look at messages people say at the contact page. It's really quite a palaver getting to what's on that page, and I was wondering if that could be looked at and simplified at all, because there's a lot of clicks you have to make before you actually see what people's messages are.
Well, there is a sort of shorter way, so you can go. I'm just going to sign out here just because I want to look at everybody else's content. So there is kind of a couple of answers to that. So sometimes when you create a form going forward, if you go into this area on your left hand side here, all your forms should technically be appearing here. So instead of you having to find the page, you go to forms, in which all your forms should be here, and then you can just click on that and do edit and view form submission. So that's one thing if you're using the CMS forms, but the CMS forms are quite limited. They're not kind of built like a Google form or a Word form. So the other option is that you can create a Word form a Microsoft form, and you can embed that in the CMS, and then basically you don't have to go into the CMS. Once you've embedded it, you don't have to go into the CMS anymore. You can just it will just go straight to your whoever's kind of created that within your organization. So that almost might be another option for you, because then you can create more interesting forms. And if you want to add in a field, you don't have to go through the whole process of adding it in the CMS. You can just add it using Microsoft Forms. I don't know if that helps.
Not sure.
Okay.
We'll have to think about that.
I can set up a session with you, or you can contact me if you want, and we can set up a session to look at that, just to kind of look at the options. But this is the kind of the quickest way to get into the forms.
I'll look at your first option first, and then we'll think about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. Now I'm conscious of we've only got 5 minutes left, so if there's anyone's got a quick question, that's got totally time for that now. But otherwise, if you want to, give us some feedback. I mean, you can email partner.content just to let us know how helpful you found these, and also if there's any other topics that you want to discuss, and also the frequency of these. I don't maybe think we would do it every week, but if that was something that you wanted, we can do that, but maybe every month or every 2 weeks, because thinking about staff turnover and those sorts of things. So any feedback you've got, that would be great, and just email partner.content and let me know. as I say, this will be available to view again, probably from this chat, and we'll send it around to everybody else who didn't, so you can forward it on to those people. But otherwise, if there's nothing else, I'll end it there. So have a good day.